Hello and welcome to Breakup Bites. I'm Jennifer Barkin and this is Jennifer Donison. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic, I think, and it's creating a parenting plan when a child has special needs. So, um, it seems that we see that a lot of kids these days have different diagnoses. When I was growing up, and I'm kind of old, we didn't see a lot of children with special needs. Maybe, kids were put into residential care or, kids got lost in the mix. But today we're seeing a lot more of lot more of diagnosed children. And we have a lot more knowledge and we know that their needs are different than a child that doesn't have these things. So let's talk about what to think about when you're creating a parenting plan when a child has special needs.
Yeah, and I think that this is a very important topic because there's no real textbook answer to a parenting plan. Every family is different and has different types of needs, whether it be special needs or somebody has a different work schedule. There's just so many different specific things that would create a different parenting plan from one family to the other. And before we jump into the special needs for the children, I just wanted to comment on something that I've seen often. And it's a party coming to me and saying, well, my ex has this type of mental health issue. There's either, a bipolar diagnosis, or, they're a narcissist, which I hear almost daily, or, and sometimes it's not diagnosed, it's just an accusation from what they read online. And sometimes it's an actual diagnosis. And if it is, it doesn't mean that they can't be a good or equal parent. It just means that they have to have the help that they need in order to be cared for and take the right and proper medications so that they are able to be in the right frame of mind to care for the children. So I just wanted to put that out there, that even if your ex-partner has
And
any.
it's a great point because what I see, and I'm sure you see a lot, especially if a parent has undiagnosed mental health issues, um, we see a lot of self-medicating through drugs, through alcohol. So when the parent, and I know I'm kind of going off topic of when the child has special needs, but when the parent has a mental health issue and they are self-medicating with some sort of substance, definitely you need to have some safety barriers put into the parenting plan to make sure that the parent is not under the influence of anything when the children are in his or her care. So very important. But when the child, I'm going to circle back to when the
Yeah.
child has special needs, what do we think about when we construct a parenting plan, and what do we ask our clients when we're creating these parenting plans? So I'd say, firstly, we want to learn as the professionals helping the family everything we can about the child's particular special needs, right? Because special needs is such a big umbrella. It can be, maybe there's a learning disability. So a child needs really a quiet place to do homework, a parent overseeing the homework, a parent, for example, helping teach the child in sort of block increments. And what that looks like is, instead of let's do 10 math questions, let's start with two. And when we're successful at two, let's start with another two, as to not make it overwhelming for a child. And I'll stress that it's so important when a child has special needs that the parents can work together to have consistency and stability in both homes. So whether it's something simple like homework is after snack time after school at 4:30, and that parent is sitting and monitoring homework and helping that child, it should be consistent in both homes.
Absolutely. And to add to your point, the consistent, the consistency, sorry, of the parenting plan needs to be reflected as well. So, for example, instead of doing, switching every couple days and making it more confusing for the children, sometimes it's better to have mom on Monday, Tuesday, dad on Wednesday, Thursday, every week, so that the child gets used to that type of schedule and it's something that's predictable and stable. And again, as you said it perfectly, every family is different and there's going to be so many different specific situations depending on your child. So the more information that you can give the mediator to understand your child's specific needs and what they thrive with, whether it be the consistency and stability of the parenting plan, whether it be to be with dad more often for this type of thing because dad thrives with teaching the child this, or mom. There's always things that we learn as mediators to understand your situation and then make suggestions that may be helpful for your family.
Definitely. A couple of other things that I think parents should be aware of. Let's say there's a diagnosis of anxiety. Transitions can be hard on an anxious child. Think about, does your child have a special teddy bear or a special toy? We refer to them as a transitional object, and it's a comfort object that that child can take from home to home. Maybe even a picture of the other parent to take with them. Maybe even a piece of clothing that has the other parent's perfume scent or something like that, that just makes it easier for a child in the transitions because they just have this safety object with them. Another thing, and I can't stress this enough, probably when there's a child with special needs, the most important clause to have in your parenting plan is, what are we going to do? What's the process if this parenting plan is not meeting the best interests of our child and things need to change? So when there's a special needs, this happens all the time. You make a parenting plan for a 3-year-old. None of us have a magic wand. I don't know what's this child's gonna need at 10, at 12, etc., etc. But when there's a special needs child, things can change a lot more rapidly than even in just a regular family system. So you're gonna want to have, what are we gonna do? This child may need therapies. This child may need extra supports in this area. And if you don't agree as co-parents, what is the process for handling it and getting the clauses in the parenting plan amended so that your child is always at the forefront?
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, to add to that, there's very high conflict situations where one party will say black and then automatically the other party will say white, as Jennifer, you know very well. And sometimes when even it's in the best interest of the child, for example, I have several files where one parent will suggest therapy for the child and the other parent, just to say no, will say no. And these are really critical things for your child that should be thought about while making a parenting plan to include. Because if you don't, and you're fighting over these very important things, and you do have joint decision making, it will negatively impact your child substantially. So, having these conversations with the mediator to discuss what it is you feel would be best for your child. For example, when the child is X amount a year old, would like to go and participate in this camp because it's specific to their special needs. I would like to have that in our agreement so that there's no conflict about it when the time comes. So pre-thinking what your child may need is always helpful, even if it's not something that is going to necessarily be needed, but something to say, if this shall occur, this will be the result. It's helpful.
Very helpful, especially because, as you just said, some parents just like to argue, right? If one parent, and they could be right, and it could make a lot of sense, but the other one is just not going to admit that, and just for the sake of arguing is going to shut it down. So to have some protections, because really that is going to ensure that the child gets what they need.
Yeah.
People like to argue. So
people like to argue, people like to be conflictual. And I think that, always forethinking and always trying to pre-plan is helpful. I believe that parenting agreements should be very specific and include more than less. You can always agree outside of the parenting plan with your ex-partner to try to see if something else is better suited. But if you cannot agree to things, it's always good to fall back on the parenting plan and have as much and with as much detail as possible in there.
exactly. You know, I used to teach a program. I'm losing my voice today. Sorry.
Your internet's
I
awful,
used
but
to
I
teach
can
a
hear.
program at the court for litigants. It was called the Mandatory Information Program. It's still up and running. It's mandatory, clearly. It's called the Mandatory Information Program. But one part of that program, it would teach litigants who are likely going to have to self represent themselves one day what they should think about when putting in their parenting plans. And it said when there's a lot of conflict or room for, disagreement, it should be very black and white, so that there's really no room for misinterpretation. But here's what I tell my clients, like, even if things are not really high conflict, I go, you know what? Have it pretty black and white. Have it very, very clear. Because none of us know what's going to be tomorrow. And I hope things stay nice like they are now. And if that's the case, just throw that parenting plan, I don't know, in the cupboard above the fridge that nobody can reach without a ladder, and do what you want. Because you can do whatever you want. But if there comes a time when you're not in agreement, you can get up on that ladder, pull it out of the cupboard, and it's right there in black and white, and that keeps people out of trouble.
That's protection. It's a safety net for people who don't know what the future holds. I had a mediation probably about 2 years ago now, and the clients were very amicable. It was shocking to me at how we were able to get through every issue and every stipulation just so easily. And they said, no, no, we're good, and we just want to, go our own ways. And that was great, fantastic. Let's just get this all written out for you both. They did not get independent legal advice. And then a year later, one of the parties recoupled. They came back to me. They're like, it's not okay for this person to have their new partner move in with them and not good for my child. And I am not going to have it. And I want to rip apart every single detail of this parenting plan and redo it because the child should be in my care fully. And it's just one of those examples where things can be wonderful until there's a circumstance change. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, it can trigger the other person. So you want to have this safety document behind you, and you want to have independent legal advice so both people sign off on it and it turns into a document that is legal.
Excellent, excellent point. So, for all parenting plans, I really believe that they should be precise and clear and written in ways that they cannot be misinterpreted. But definitely, if a child has some extraordinary needs or special circumstances, those things should be laid out very, very clearly.
And if you have any questions about your specific type of parenting plan and what you feel would be best to include in it, you can always reach out to a professional that has dealt with it and who may have some more suggestions for your specific needs.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer Barkin,
And I'm Jennifer Donison.
and see you next time.